What's up, YouTube world? Today's video, I am going to be answering a few questions from another YouTube channel that recently asked a few questions on one of my previous videos of installing a set of Flowtech headers on the 351 Modify. So in response to some of those questions, I thought maybe it would be mostly helpful for this particular YouTube channel to actually be able to see what I am talking about in my comments in response to your questions. So I thought maybe I'd make this video. Hopefully it will be a little more helpful to you. You can, you know, once I show you a few things here, pause the video and you can look at them. You know, you can examine what you're seeing a lot better than me telling you in a comment. So with that being said, Rusty Rat Rod Garage is another YouTube channel. Basically does the same things that I do, into the same type of work, and you know, got a few how-tos on there and things like that. So I'll put a link to his channel in the description of this video, so you go over and check out his videos and some of the projects and things that he's working on as well. Alright, so what I thought I would do is I'll start at the top and work my way down. If anybody is watching this who has seen my previous video, then you will remember it was this bolt right here. I know it's hard to see, but that bolt right there was the one that was stuck that I could not get out. I ended up driving it literally across the street to a local garage. Guy I've known for you know, basically my whole life. He hit it with a torch. It come right out, and the old manifold, it literally just falls right out the bottom. Just falls right out. I mean, it just, you don't even have to force it out. It just, it's wide open enough down there. Falls right out. And hit the stud with a pair of vice grips. The stud came right out. Within 5 minutes, I was already putting the new bolts in the header. I mean, it literally, the room underneath there to get this side in, you know, you couldn't ask for more room or an easier job. I mean, literally, it took me not even 5 minutes to put that header on this side, get all the bolts in it, and start working on torquing them. You know, 5 minutes. I mean, it was piece of cake, super easy. The other side, even though this side here literally gave me no trouble with none of the bolts or anything, like my light here is. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, there we go. So this side here, none of the bolts gave me any trouble at all. And as you can tell, there is barely enough room to get that thing in here at all. But as far as the bolts and everything, nothing gave me trouble, you know, to get those out. And you can see, you know, you can see up through here. I'm trying to get the best lighting I possibly can so you can see here. So you can see, you can get up in there. You know, this is just this moves a little bit, so you can get up in there to the bolts. And I think I ended up going through that particular hole there at one point in time or something, and to get the front ones or something. I don't really remember, but I know it was a little bit tricky to get to the bolts on this side. You know, you just have to have the right tool. And I was able to get to them perfectly fine. None of them fought me. They all came out perfectly fine. So to the underside of this, per the instructions of this particular header and a lot of other videos that you will see, it actually wants you to take this cross member out. This cross member right here, which, you know, sure, you can take that out. It probably would make the job a little less hassle. This side here, this is the driver's side, you know, obviously that thing poses no, it's not in the way at all whatsoever for that side. And this side here, you know, it may free you up a valuable inch maybe, but as you can see, the bolts, I mean, it is easy to get to. If you already have the old manifold off, then clearly this is going, this section of the exhaust manifold will be out of the way. So you'll be able to get to those bolts perfectly fine. But as you can see, to put it back on, you're going to have, a little bit different of an issue to get the bolts back in there. Of course, you can go from back here to get up in there, and it probably will not be very bad at all. And you got these corner bolts on both sides there. So, wait, there it is, okay. So, really, if you want to take that off, that would probably be beneficial. It's just, I didn't do that, and I didn't have to, really. So, but what you do have to take off out of the way is you're going to have to take the starter out of there. It is quite the mule to put the starter back in there once you get the header in there, though, of course. And if I'm not mistaken, what I had to do was, so like I said, you got to take the starter out of the way. The transmission lines are going to fight you. I don't know if if somebody would rather take the transmission lines off, off the front, off your radiator or whatever, and try to move them. Then you got to fool with all that, putting that back together. And personally, I didn't really want to do that. So I didn't fool with that. But as you can see, the starter has to come off of there. You can see the starter wire right there. So you have to put the starter wire back on at a different angle there, because obviously you don't want that metal part hitting the header for obvious reasons. So you got to kind of finagle that thing around there. Does it get hot? I'm sure it does. Will it cause problems later on down the road? Maybe. Apparently putting headers on this particular engine has a reputation of burning up starters, which you can probably imagine is probably pretty accurate. And as far as getting the header up through there, yes, it is a little bit of a mule. You kind of have to fight it a little bit. And let me get my flashlight back out here. My light's dying. And as you can see, all the scrapes and dings all over it. Yeah, you're going to, let's see, there you go. Yeah, you see all the scrapes and dings. You're going to scratch it to pieces getting it up through there. So, because it's going to bang on everything. And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, I had to have someone at the top at one point in time give it a good tug to pull it up through there. Because of the transmission lines, I do believe before I bolted the header to the head, while it was loose and not bolted, not really even setting where it needs to go, like up against the head, you have to put the starter in. So you have to put the starter back up in there while you can move the header a little bit out of the way, and bolt the starter back up in there, and then you can put the header up against the head and start putting the bolts in. Because if you remember in this video, those are all header, see, you can't really see it there. It's still really hard to see, but those are all header bolts and not studs. Bolts does help when it comes to putting that in there, because if there were studs sticking out of your head, it would, it's going to take up like an inch of clearance that you need desperately to put this side in there. So you definitely don't want to use the factory studs on this side for sure. You want to use the bolts that actually come with this. So with having the studs out of the way, it makes a world of difference. You get that thing bolted in, get the header bolted in, and you're good to go. Now, as far as clearance for running exhaust, so these headers have a 3-inch collector. I want to run 3-inch exhaust on this truck as well at one point in time, or at some point actually, but this cross member is not going to allow you to do that whatsoever on this side for sure. So this is actually 2 1/4 piping, all the way down to, unfortunately, I only have 2-inch pipe all the way back. It's old stuff. I need to get it all replaced. It's been on there for years from my dad put it on there. But so The header actually comes with the adapter that, you know, this actual adapter right here for 3-inch exhaust. And you know, and it just simply bolts on there like that. You can get you a nicer gasket than what comes in the kit, and you know, it bolts right on there. But as you can see, this one here is a 2.5-inch adapter, and look at where it's at on the cross member. That's 2.5 inch. So you can imagine a 3-inch is not possible whatsoever. It is absolutely not possible, unless you know, if you do take this thing off, you can actually C-notch that cross member right there. And essentially what that would be is, you know, you're going to cut out your 3-inch notch right there. And of course you want to add some metal back to it, like, you know, you could take a piece of, you know, steel pipe or whatever and cut a, you know, cut a C, you know, section out of it or something like that, to actually weld back into place, you know, to add the strength back to this cross member. And you know what, that would probably actually work. You could probably do that, or if they make an aftermarket cross member that simply drops down another inch, that would you know, that would work great as well. But you're going to have to go with mandrel bent piping regardless, because of, you know, the transmission pan there and everything, and clearing everything. And then of course, once you get back here, you have that cross member to go up over, which up under there, you've got plenty of room. You could almost run 4-inch underneath there if you can, you know, if you can get 4-inch from here to there, you know. But 3-inch would clear there perfectly fine. You know, you got some clearance issues right here. So you're gonna have, you know, your piping is gonna have to be moved over this way just a little bit. And you know, as I said, you get some mandrel bent parts. That could possibly work right there. That honestly could possibly work. And I will say, this side right here, to run 3-inch exhaust, this side right here is actually going to be your worst side. Okay, now on to the driver's side. Now as you can see, the driver's side, you have a lot more clearance with the cross member right there. A lot more clearance. But, you know, if you're going to C-notch one side, you know, you're pretty much going to want to do that here, even though you don't need as much of a clearance with the C-notch. But if you're going to do one side, you know, you make them both the same. So you're going to have, you know, a really decent amount of clearance on this side if you do that. And let me get up in there. Of course, you can see, you know, it is absolutely, I kid you not, 5 minutes and you can just shove it right up through there and get it up in there. So there's no tutorial on this. I mean, you know, if you're doing it on this side, there's nothing in the way. Other than them brake lines, if you got factory brake lines there, you know, they might be in the way a little bit, but you can push them out of the way just a little bit. But now where the issue is actually going to be is not even right here. But of course, you know, you see there's some clearance issues right there. So there again, you're going to have to go up over this cross member, and you do not have as much space on this side as you do the passenger side. Yeah, that's my shifter cable there. I got the daggone rubber's melting over the pipe again. You know, it's really not too bad here. But the problem you're going to have is if you are running this same transmission, this is on a C6 automatic, that shifter right there comes all the way down and hits the pipe. Even with being 2 1/4 piping right here, it hits the pipe. That nut on the end, I did make, let me see here, I did make an adjustment. Let's see. So the shift rod is actually pushed all the way up there, like as far up as it'll go, because it was, you know, it was like halfway down through there. I don't know if it's been like that from the factory or whatever, but when it's down there like that, which, you know, it does, moving it like that does have an effect on where your shifter actually sets on your column, which I'll show you that here in just a minute. So with pushing it all the way up there like that, my shifter sets almost straight up and down on the column, which looks ridiculous, but I'm able to clear the exhaust. It doesn't come as far down to hitting exhaust unless I go to shift down to 1st or 2nd gear or something like that. Then you can hear it actually hit the exhaust. So if you're going to run 3-inch exhaust and you have this particular transmission, you're going to have to figure out a way to come off of the collector and just essentially move it over a little bit somehow or another. And you know, but once you do something like that, I mean, as you can see, you got plenty of room over here. You know, over in this, you know, section here, you know, you got plenty of room to run that. It's just that once you get back, oh goodness, I'm stuck. You know, once you get to here, you know, you're going to have to worry about the clearance over here and your shifter cable. Of course, I got to get me some more of that heat wrap or something, because daggone thing's melting on my exhaust here. As you can see, I have not had this set up very long, and I didn't realize it was melting on there. That sucks. You know, once you get all that, it'll actually, you know, you should be able to clear it perfectly fine. It might get a little hot on your floor pan here or whatever, but you know what? That's cool. So one other thing that you possibly could do, of course this is the passenger side, is you could probably cut this flange off of the collector here and maybe cut back a couple of inches. You know, leave yourself enough to keep everything together and keep everything nice and solid, and enough to weld on. You could probably get yourself some mandrel bent 3-inch piping to go over this cross member and weld to it, and you know, cross over it pretty decent. I'm sure they make something like that. If not, you know, I know somebody could make that. So that probably wouldn't be a bad idea as well. You know, you could just simply cut, you know, a little bit of that and get you a mandrel bent piece to go up over that. And maybe kind of golden if you can do something like that. You may not even have to modify or you know, anything on this cross member here at all if you get some piping like that. So that could definitely help. And another thing on this install, keep in mind, this is a 2-wheel drive. This is just a 2-wheel drive F-150 78 351M C6 transmission. So as I was saying about the shifter, as you can see, the shifter is, look at this, this thing is straight up and down. Isn't that ridiculous? You know, it's supposed to be about probably like right here, and it would be if I loosen that bolt down there and drop the shift linkage down. Then, you know, it essentially would let this come back down. But as I said, you know, it's up there like that because the bolt on the shift linkage to actually clear the exhaust. I need a floor shifter down there, and that's exactly what I need. And also in that video, I did not have the new seat in the truck. The seat was in the back of the truck, but how do you like that? That's actually pretty decent. My dad picked this thing up for $100. The guy that makes these seats, I actually met him in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and showed him pictures of the seat, and sure enough, he's the only one that makes these seats like this. And this is, he charges $900 for this seat. But isn't that nice? And it is the factory red for this truck. Just need to get the carpet and all that to match, and you know, do some work to the door panels, and you know, do a little cleaning and all that. But other than that, hopefully this video helps. I'll see you in the next video.